As an event planner, the one thing you want to do is make sure that you are organized in your thoughts, organized in the vision of the event. And as an MC, one thing you want to do is that you want to make sure that you're always early to an event. Like I was earlier today for Hall of Fame with Darling Lyonga. Good morning, everybody. My name is Vicky Fokala. I am an event planner and I am an MC, and you're welcome to Hall of Fame with Darling Lyonga.
It's an honor to have you, to be fair.
And that's mine.
Yes. As a kid, I would see you when I started watching Cameroonian movies,
Okay.
when I desired to join the industry. I mean, you have to look at those who are already existing.
Yes.
So you're one of those I picked interesting. I will learn about you. One thing I loved was the fact that you were highly courageous. You were never afraid to share your thoughts,
Thank you.
to give out how you felt without caring how others are going to react to it. Yeah, so it's a pleasure having you, I swear. Okay.
Pleasure's mine.
So now let's start from your birth. Where were you born?
I was born in Douala. I was born in April 1986. And I've lived in Douala pretty much all of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so how big is your family?
We're a family of 5. I got 4 other siblings, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I'm the 4th of the 5.
So you're close to being the last one.
Close to being the last one. Actually, last girl. I like to boast like that. I'm the last girl, so pretty much I'm the last born.
Okay.
The other last is a boy.
Because you were highly spoiled, I guess.
Very. Especially because in my earlier years, I was very sick. I used to fall sick a lot. I think I died like twice and came back to life. Literally, I died like twice and came back to life. Between the age of, as much as I can remember, I think 6, 7, till the age of like 11 or 12. Like I was that kind of child who had a private room at the Bonasama hospital. So when I fall, they just bring me. Then they start calling my parents after they have stabilized me.
What was the call? What were you
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just know that when that moment comes, I have like this acute gastritis that spikes off my temperature, and then I start vomiting, and then as I'm vomiting and that's nasty, I'm passing out stool at the same time, and then I grow weak, I start convulsing, and then they need to rush me to the hospital, and then they try to stabilize me. Sometimes I'm gone for like a week at the hospital, sometimes 2. So actually, my papa money won't finish on me. Contribute for that money we give up. You know what? I give it back.
How was it like?
It was okay. I was quite young, so I wouldn't really understand what it felt, but for the part that I can remember, it was very uncomfortable because sometimes I would crash in class. And when I was in class 7, because when I used to go to school, we used to have class 7. When I was in class 7, I finished my mock and my first school at the hospital. In fact, somebody finished my mock, Anne-Marie. She finished my mock for me. And then when it came to the common entrance part, I crashed on the day we were writing. So they had to, 3 days later, bring mine to the hospital because they insisted I needed to be the one to write it myself. So they brought it to me at the hospital and I wrote it. So yeah.
And now?
No, I'm good. Now I'm good. There was a very funny phase of my life. One time when I got off the hospital, I think I was like 12, heading on 13. There's this man that just came out from nowhere. Honestly, true life story. There's this man that just came out from nowhere. We had just returned from the hospital. My mom and my aunt were sitting outside. We were inside the house and we were playing with my sisters. And then I just heard my aunt come in, call my sister, and then she came back and then came and brought me. And then when I came out, the only thing I remember the man saying, this is the child I'm talking about. Do you think I came here to play? The man was looking so short, so bearded, with an afro hair. He was wearing a shirt, like pale white, like a faded out white shirt with blue strips on it. And then some old school 70s or 80s pants that he had on and slippers. And then he came and then he told my mom that my mom should call every family member that they can. The next day, he's gonna be home. He's gonna come home. And then he came home actually. He said he was gonna be home at 6. So we had this bell in this clock in our house that dings when it's the hour. So that clock dinged 6 o'clock, the man rang on the bell and then entered, like sharp. He entered, came in, and then sat down. My mom had called, people had moved in from Bamenda, you know, family members had come in. Because I used to get so sick that people would get worried, like any minute I can just die, you know. So when it was anything that concerned me, everybody was on their feet. And then the man came in, did some stuff, took out a frog from his bag, dropped it on the floor, sprinkled some powder on it, asked for a new blade, cut me up some, my hands, my legs, my chest. Sometimes I still feel like I feel the lines still in here. And then he left. Then this is the funny part. When he was about to leave, my dad was like, "What do we give you?" Because my dad was carrying me on his lap. Like, "What do we give you?" And then he told my dad, "Nothing. You're not the one that brought me here, so you don't need to give me nothing." And then my dad was like, "Okay, can I at least drop you?" "No." "Okay, how can I find you if she falls again?" The man said, "She's not going to fall again." "Okay, where are you from?" "Oh, since you're insisting, I'm from Kumba, from Fiango, and that's it." "What's your name?" "My name is Dr. Smoke." It was raining heavily. And then he opened the door and went into the rain. 1 month later, nothing had happened to me. 2 months later, nothing. 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. That was totally unusual because I would fall like every 2 months at the max. 6 months later, I had not fallen. Everybody was like, "What's happening?" So my dad took a trip to Kumba and asked everywhere for Dr. Smoke. Nobody knows him. They took my dad to Kosala, to one man there who was like the chief of all the traditional or herbalist or whatever there. They said they don't know, they've never heard. Then the man told my dad he was going to call some other person who is like the head of all of them in the southwest or something. And then came back, told my dad, they don't know the man. And from that day till now, we've never heard of the man, never seen him, and I've never been to the hospital. Yeah. I think it was. I think it was. Yeah, God probably knew that there was so much that he wanted to do with me, and then he had to salvage that, and then he had to come in a way that we will understand. Because, you know, that's one thing. If there was some dude in a white dress and wings that appeared, I'm sure everybody would have shed off heketa seketa. Yeah. But because he came like a man. So kind of like God works in mysterious ways though. He came like a man. Like that's one part of I get to forget things a lot, but that's one part of my life. I don't think I'm ever gonna forget that.
Were you born with a silver spoon? How was the living condition like?
I was born with a silver spoon. But then because of my condition and the fact that we were growing up and the fact that my father thought that he was Jesus Christ to save his whole family, we ended up with a wooden spoon, mud spoon, kind of, you know, because, you know, there are people who grow up in families and that God bless the works of their hands, and then they get to have some money, then they have kids, but the kids are still young, so the demands on the kids are not that high, because it's just now that living conditions and living standards are changing. So before you could calmly and easily sponsor children into dormitory schools or primary schools, like high-end primary schools, and not feel the pinch. But right now it's not the same thing. But my dad was taking care of us. My dad was taking care of his family members, his what I would call my uncles, and my I don't even know how to call them, step cousins or something. Like he was thinking that he was Jesus Christ. He's taking care of everybody. And then the kids grew up, the other people on the other side that he was taking care of, they grew up, and everybody knew that my dad is the go-to guy. And then we too grew up, so the responsibilities became higher. His age was not like, he wasn't getting any younger, didn't have the same kind of strength. and times were changing. My dad is an auto electrician, and before he used to be one of the first people that was work at Zepol. He worked at a lot of banks, so he was quite comfortable. Matter of fact, in Douala he built a house, bought a large plot, built a house that we're living on, and then the government now decided on their own that the land that we built on and every other person in that neighborhood built on belonged to the government, so all of us should leave.
No compensation.
Nothing at all. A lot of people died from that instance. I'm just grateful that my parents could level up. You know, sometimes when you want to build a house or you want to invest in landed property, you know that, okay, this is my property. Like, I can put in my life investment in this because all I need to do now is work harder to be able to, you know. So I think that's kind of what happened to my dad at some point.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that I was falling sick a lot, it's also the fact that he must have put like a good chunk of his investment on purchasing that land, because it was a huge land. And then the government came, so it was Magzi's land. It was in Bonaberry, behind the train station in Bonaberry. They leveled up the whole of that neighborhood. Everything went down. So it was more like retour à la caisse départ, start all over again.
So when you left from there, where did you go to?
We went to Granga. We rented a house at Granga, and the house that we rented, there was this stream that used to pass at the back of that house. La marée passait derrière, behind the house. And sometimes when it gets like 5 p.m., 6 p.m., the tides go high and everywhere is full. People actually walk in water. Call it French, la marée haute. People actually walked in water to the, like, I mean, like, it did that. There were tides high almost every time. The tides would get so high, and then the children's toilet was down, it was lower. So sometimes you go to shower inside dirty water because you have to stand in. You have to stand in that water and then take a bath and then come out, stand at the rest, and then wash your legs off, kinda.
So, woman, you know how complicated we are.
Well, you sit on the toilet pot because, I mean, the water did not come all the way up, and then you just have to find a way to arrange yourself. And then now I was like, what, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. We lived in that house for like 5 years. In those conditions for like 5 years. And then God blessed us again. Then my parents bought a piece of land again at Rai. And then Jogo Nes on Karabot. You know, there's nothing in this life, trust me, there's nothing in this life better than sleeping in your house and knowing that no landlord is coming to knock on that door to ask you for money. So if you haven't, even if it's just a 200-meter square land, just go nail Karabot for this living, my friend. No man will beat you. So we nailed that Karabot and then moved. And at that time when we moved, everybody was kind of bigger. My brother had traveled. My kid brother was on his own side. Me too, I was going my own side. Now everybody was like, so they just lived in that house for a while till from 2008. They lived in that house from 2008. They still live in the house now, but around 2014-ish, like this, I changed the house. We built a more solid, befitting structure.
Amazing.
Yes. So yeah, but now everybody's bouncing back. You know, kids are grown. Like I was trying to talk about the family members. Everybody grew and then did their own thing. Forgot that my dad ever existed.
They never came to your aid.
Never, ever. No.
Did you try reaching out to them?
I don't know about my brothers, but me, I won't. Because I feel like everybody needs to have the intelligence to be grateful. I'm never going to ask you. Like, if I come and ask you for something, you're not being grateful if you do it. You're under duress. And I don't want people doing anything for me under duress. You see the situation. You know what they had done for you. It's okay to go back and say thank you in some way. Take a kid. They've sponsored your entire family. Take one kid and say, okay, I want to sponsor this one. They married. So one of them even married without telling my dad. Left Bamenda. That somebody, Jesus. Left Bamenda, came to Douala, flew from the airport, went to America. My dad didn't know. Story for maybe some other day.
Some other day. Okay, my last question regards to your childhood. Your mom, was she a stay at home
No,
wife?
she wasn't. My mom is a hustler. Woo! My mom, I think I get the strength to do business and some things from my mom. My mom, my mom will fall sick if she doesn't do something. My mom she started by selling um, palm oil. She used to have a store, and then she had a shop at the market. And then she decided to start doing bulk sales. So she would travel to some that Penja Compina kind side, and so she would buy oil in jugs, like this 25-liter jugs. She'll buy like 50 of them. And then she would come in, and then she would sell the oil out in bulk. And then at some point she would go now back to the southwest area, then buy crayfish in bags and come and sell. She was used to sew. She used to be a tailor, a seamstress. Earlier when she got married, that's what she was doing. And then before she started gradually getting into the business. So pretty much, I think my mom sustained us right now. It's actually sustains our family to like 80%.
Wow.
Because my dad is old, he's retired. Like, and then there's not much he can do. So now they're just a loving couple at home. It turn cocky, mommy the boy planty. You know, that's the kind of thing they live now. And they just lean back. Their first child will send, their second child will send, their third child will send, their fourth will send, their fifth will send. So yeah, God has been faithful through it all.
Any childhood traumatic experience that still affects you today?
Yes. I was a victim of multiple attempted sexual harassment and near rape from my uncle.
No way.
And sometimes I ask myself where I get the strength to face men and all of that. Like, it was not because he attempted it that was traumatic. It's the fact that it's me he was looking for. It was like, I can be sleeping on the bed with my sisters. So I got 2 sisters. I can be sleeping on the bed with my sisters. My sister is here, another sister is here, and then me, I'm at the back. He will cross all of them. Cross all of them. I'm the one he's looking for. What was that?
Did you ever tell anyone?
Oh yeah, I told my mom, told my parents. Earlier on, it was not easy for them to believe it. My uncle. It was not easy. And then my mom was like, am I sure? My dad was like, even if she's not sure, then it turned into, okay, my dad is easily believing it because it is her brother and not his own brother. I saw that it was going to turn into a family feud. I was like, okay, guys, all right. I just told you guys what I saw. Everything was calm for like 2 months. And my mom was like, one day, you see now, I told you, it was a dream. It must have been something. And then 2 months later, it happened again. And that was when my dad was like, no, he needs to go. So he left.
Let's talk about stigmatization. To those who have actually been raped, when they come out to talk, right, at the end of the day, people drag them for it. Most often they are to be blamed, or they are being blamed for the act, yes? So what do you have to say?
The people who blame those kind of people, they are very stupid. How does someone come out to tell you this is something that has happened to me? And the first thing you want to do is say, maybe it's because of the way you were dressed. Maybe it's because of what you said. Maybe it's because of the way you were dancing. Are you okay? And so what if the person dressed somehow? Which means that they should now kill every baby that is born naked. Or they should, especially when somebody does that, like, and then it's a minor. Or even if it's somebody that, look, I remember the time when Daphne came out and said something like that. And people were dragging her. And I usually don't have words for those kind of people, because I feel like that's some level of stupidity that cannot be compared. When the person's, and you know, it's because people come and speak out and then they get stigmatized. That's why people don't speak out.
Yes.
But I also, for the people that speak and get stigmatized, my own word to them is that you cannot listen to people. You must speak. It is your situation. Even if they act like they are not hearing you, just keep speaking. There will be somebody that will hear you. There's always going to be somebody that's going to hear you.
Okay. So, today's generation, most girls tend to do runs. They tend to have sugar daddies because of where they're coming from. Now, you were born with a silver spoon. All of a sudden, that spoon turned from silver to a wooden spoon. Did you ever feel the need to go out there? And
Never.
Not at all. Okay. Now, to those girls who use this as an excuse, or you don't know where I'm coming from, you don't know my story, my parents are suffering, and they use this to go into prostitution, right? You, as someone who has been through that situation but never did that, what do you have to tell these youngsters?
They need a lot of counseling. They need a lot of restructuring of the mind. They need a lot of advice, and then especially they need a lot of love. Those kind of people, they need a lot of tender loving. They need because see, I feel like it is children that live in loveless homes that feel the need to go out there. Why? Because they do not understand the worth that they have. They do not understand the value that they have. But I grew up in a home, I'm so grateful to God for my parents, because I grew up in that kind of home where my dad goes to work. My mom goes to her business. My mom comes back and cooks. My dad comes back and does the laundry.
Wow.
That's the kind of house I grew up in. I've never been in that situation where you will see my dad come, sits on the couch, crosses his legs, and then decides to say, oh, okay, let my mom finish the cooking and come bring it. When we were bigger, he could lean back a little bit, but it was never, ever that. We grew in the kind of house where my mom is a shy person, but my dad is a very outgoing person. He's the kind of person that will call you a pet name. He's the kind of person that will make you know that he loves you. He's the kind of person that you can actually go and cuddle in his arms. No, my dad is that kind of person. And I feel like most of these children is because they don't, my dad inculcated, or my parents, they inculcated that kind of, you're worthy, you're priceless, you have value. They understood the values of Christianity, and they drove that into us. And that's why the Bible says that teach a child the way he should grow, so that when he grows up, he will not depart from it.
Yeah.
A lot of parents need to understand this from the base. I didn't drink alcohol until I was 35. That was the first time I ever tasted alcohol.
35.
Yes.
Wow.
The first time I ever tasted alcohol, I drank a quarter glass of champagne, and I was in Abidjan. My friends were like, you're crazy. You can never, ever, you can't. No, you can't. I was at the verge of my 35th birthday. It was in April. And then they were like, try it. You're not going to die. So they gave me a quarter glass. I used 2 hours to finish that glass. And they were sitting on my head like this. You will finish it. You will finish it.
35.
Yes. That was the first time I ever tasted alcohol. I don't go to the clubs. I hate cigarettes. I don't go out. I don't drink. Even after I tasted alcohol on my 35th, I can count how many times I've drank alcohol.
You know, when people look at you,
yeah, I know
and the
that.
kind of things we hear about you online,
I know that. I know that.
When I put this online now, she's like,
I know. I'm satisfied with their opinion of me.
Wow, this is a shocker.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, let's talk about career. How did you get into the industry?
All right. I just know that I was very bold and I was very vocal when I was younger, and I would come out, I would speak. So in my earlier age, and my sisters and I and our neighbor, we used to organize musical concerts. Who's the man? A bomb like a bomb. Who's the man like a hunting gun? All those ragamuffin, all those people who now wear my uncle. This is my uncle that was doing shakara for me. That my uncle used to have like big jeans and team boots. You know, they will carry the team boots and then they'll wear, and then I'll be like the person that is telling, okay, right now we're going to receive this person, right now we're going to receive this person. And then as I was growing up, my sisters will have birthday parties, and I'll be the one to MC the birthday parties. And then my friend will have birthday parties, and then I'll be the one to MC the birthday parties. And then my aunt, God bless her soul, Gladys, she used to love makeup. And then we had a neighbor who used to sell makeup. So when he throws his, like, you know, like the tampered makeup stuff, Uncle Sam would throw them. And then my aunt used to buy hers. So each time she's doing her makeup to go out, I'll be looking at her, she'll just draw one line here, and then draw one white here, and then put red lipstick, and then I'll put powder. I'll be looking. So from time to time, I would try it and all of that. So it just kept getting better. So gradually, that's how I just started emceeing. And then one day somebody said, Vicky, please come and MC for me. I have 50,000. I'm like, oh, well, okay, you won't pay me? Okay, fine, okay. All right, okay.
Yeah.
So I got my first 50K from MC, and I was like, whoa. And then just about that time, and then I watched the movie, and in that movie, one line, if you're good at something, never do it for free. I'm good. No more free. And that's it. That's how I just started. And when I was in school, when I went to the university in Yaoundé, I joined Zikotoche Chamini. I was in their theater arts group and all of that. And then in school, so I don't have a degree. Yeah, unbelievable. I know I don't have a degree because I went to the University of Boya for a year. I wanted to study mass communication, and they decided that they wanted to put me in the Faculty of Arts, Department of English. And so then that's not what I want to learn. And then the VC was like, don't worry, Lani, this is good for you. So I did. But my minor was theater arts by Dr. Ashari Kilo. And then Dr. Ashari saw, I think she kind of saw some fire in me. So she made me her assistant lecturer. As in, she will call me, she will teach me in her office. And then I go and teach the class. She was following her appointment in Yaoundé. It worked. I had her. And so whenever she would give me that, people will not be respecting me in class. Yeah. When I want to, I'm like, who is this? Because I had level 300, level 400 students in class. So they don't see me coming to talk to them. Meanwhile, the doctor has taught me, and then I now have to go and teach them and all of that. So she did a good job because she kind of lit the fire in me really strong. And I never ever took that for granted and for no minute. And then after that, she let me direct my first play while we were in the university in Boya. And then when she moved to Yaoundé, she was appointed at the Ministry of Culture. When she moved to Yaoundé, she was telling me, you should come to Yaoundé. Because she knew, I always told her, I wish that the minor department can be turned into a full-blown department. She said she's been trying for a couple of years. So she said the Yaoundé University, University 1, they have a theater arts, film production theater arts department. So 1 year after I was in Boya, I moved to Yaoundé. I started going to the university. Oh God, it was a mess. It was a mess. Everything was theory. Television production. The lady comes to class, the lecturer comes to class. I've ever seen a camera, there's a red button on it.
No way.
And then what made it worse was that I took a trip one time to Nigeria, and then I was opportunity to go to the University of Lagos, and then I went to their theater arts department. God, they have a cinematography department. What my eyes saw when I came back, the depression I entered. I left the university. I said, I'm tired. I'm done. These people, you will not help me. Oh. So that's how I left. Okay. After 2 years, parading from Boya to Yaoundé. And then I went and studied business administration from one of those professional schools at the time. And then I came back, I clocked a job with a company called Acolis. They were doing these ATM installations and ATM cards. So I was in charge of clientele for Cameroon and Nigeria. And that's how I started going to Nigeria very often. And then I started meeting a lot of people.
With no degree?
Yeah. So one of the friends I met in Nigeria, actually Bright Osakwe, he introduced me to this lady called Chinwe Eguagu. So I met Chinwe, and Chinwe invited me to Nigeria. So I went to Nigeria. She talked to me about her project. So I was like her PA on the production. So we shot the first movie, which was Mr. and Mrs. The Revolution with Rita Dominic, Chidimokeme. So that's why I made a lot of. Now I can speak to Chidi. I can speak to Rita. I kind of met Tana Adelana. I made a lot of friends on that set. And then when we came back a couple of years, I think 1 or 2 years later, she was shooting another film, Ayaka. So she invited me over again. I went there. We did all the groundwork and all of that. And then we shot Ayaka with Peter Dolce and a lot of other people, Yor and all that.
Now, you've worked with Nigerians.
Yeah.
Before we talk about Cameroonians.
Yeah.
So you've worked with both Cameroonians, Nigerians.
Yes.
Let's start with Nigerians. How do you find them?
Amazing. Work focused, work oriented. Very poised, very professional. They know exactly what they're doing. Everybody knows what they're doing. You don't need to remind anybody of their job. You don't need to call them. They are duty conscious. They are wow. See, there's this kind of place where you go to work, right? Everybody knows that they have to be up at 6. You don't need to wake them. By 5:30, everybody's up. They're already doing their own thing. The gaffers are setting up. Camera crew is setting up. The stage set designer is setting up. He already has all his things planned. Everything is aligned. I know before, yeah. Who's office team or tapiso, eh? Who's office plate? We need some spoon. Nah, you don't have that.
Now, when you look at some of their storylines and our storylines back home, let's look at it. Let's do a comparison.
We have very powerful stories, but terrible delivery. Terrible delivery. I think if we can have the prowess of Nigerian production and bring it to the extreme intensity of Cameroonian storylines, we'll scatter place for pidgin. Because you see stories that people write. Saving Bank of Stephanie Tom, for example. Amazing storyline. Delivery is the problem. I did costumes for that movie. The Planter's Plantation. I had a chance to read the script. Amazing storyline. Every accolade is getting is deserved. Fisherman's Diary. Great storyline. Yeah, very good delivery. But now there's a problem around the rest of the PR of the movie. I can name them. Storylines on storylines on storylines on storylines that have come, but because they were poorly developed, and then the marketing was terrible, and then saving all, like everything, the delivery, the shots, the lights. I mean, in Nigeria, you go to a movie set, the kind of lights that you see, the people are invested because there's the money, there's the people too that are willing to insert money. We had that before, and our dear brothers and sisters in the Lord that used to do film, they destroyed the chance of everybody ever getting some kind of heavy investment, because when the investors came, they used the money and squandered it and never shot the movies. Now people are unable to sponsor. But in Nigeria, you go there, it's easy for you to get sponsorship, to do something. It's easy for you to have somebody's house that you can use. That's why they actually even build structures like Estate. People live there, but they have structures. It's meant for movies. Okay. It's meant for movies. Very high-end apartments with pools and everything, meant for movies, because they've seen that there is something in there. Because, you know, a movie starts with everything. If you're shooting a high-class movie, it better be high-class. I don't take camera and say, "Must stop the thing. Must shoot village film." Because you cannot shoot high-class. You cannot shoot luxury. I'm sorry. In this country, you cannot. You can't. I don't say this to insult, or I don't say this to, but we don't have what it takes. You want to compare luxury movie for Nigeria with luxury movie for Cameroon craze? You're fit. We're talking about people that shoot luxury movies and drive out with Porsche, with all kind of cars, Lamborghinis. And when you hear some man, some very rich man, when you hear only script, the man is talk 100 million, come over enter Karina E.